And hello, America. Hello, world. I'm Jake Baker. This is the Baker Report. We're glad you've joined us. There are some who might say that Yahweh himself spoke out about a recent event coming from the Vatican, that is, the Pope's blessing of same-sex or homosexual marriage. Has Yahweh sent a powerful sign of condemnation, and has he abandoned the papacy? Did Yahweh demonstrate his rage at the papal decree blessing sin? It's not about denominationalism, and it's not about Catholicism. It's about a man who's supposed to be a man of God blessing a sin that Yahweh lists as an abomination. For now, from where I sit, the sign is undeniable, and in just a minute we'll talk about that sign from heaven that should grab not just our attention, but the attention of the entire globe. But I think we need a little background, so let's start at the beginning. Last week, we spoke of political and economic chaos, wars, rumors of wars that persist, and, of course, actual wars that are consuming the Middle East, Europe, and the Far East, with China exerting and projecting their new power, all the way from Australia up through Japan, through South Korea and North Korea. All of this is taking place because we have elected someone we should not have elected, who is a mumbling idiot in the White House, and his co-pilot is a leftist moron. And I believe that a ferocious spirit of rage has been released across the entire globe under the demonic hand of Barack Hussein Obama. And as that spirit of rage and chaos was released upon the earth, things began to change, and the earth began to shudder under the weight of its own sin, its own avarice, and particularly now, as America begins showing in full bloom signs of a dying empire. You see, Yahweh judges sin, both for individuals and for countries, both here in America and around the world. And frankly, it's getting more and more difficult, ever more difficult, to distinguish the good guys from the bad guys in politics and even in the church. Many churches, even in America, are condoning the sin of homosexuality, lesbianism, transsexualism, all of that, as if sin didn't exist anymore. Of course, especially in the area of sexual sin. We like to gloss over that one quickly. Leviticus 18:22 tells us, "Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination." Leviticus 20:13, "If a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with the woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them." So God had a pretty stern warning about that kind of sexual sin. And that leads us to a striking event that took place on December 17th, 2023, in the former home jurisdiction of Pope Francis, also known as Jorge Mario Bergoglio, where he served both as an archbishop and a cardinal of Buenos Aires. It was on his birthday, December 17th, that a powerful storm rolled through Buenos Aires. The storm killed 13 people and left flooding and lots of property damage, and of course many other things. But it did more than that. During that storm, despite the fact that this is nowhere near the highest point on the property, and despite the fact that the edifice is surrounded by lightning rods, the statue of St. Peter took a direct hit. Now, you might be asking, oh, okay, what's the significance of that? Well, statues do get hit by lightning, yes, but the Pope is supposed to be the successor of St. Peter. And notice it was the statue of St. Peter that was hit. Notice I said supposed to be the successor of St. Peter, because the Peter that went to Rome was not the Apostle Peter, St. Peter, but a different one, a demoniac. But we'll save that for another time. But the Pope is supposed to be the successor of St. Peter, and it was the statue of St. Peter in his former jurisdiction as Archbishop and then Cardinal that was hit. When was it hit? December 17th. That also happens to be the birthday of Pope Francis. And finally, all of this happened the day before he was to announce his blessing on the abomination of homosexual marriage. So, you're saying to yourself, okay, lightning hit the statue the day before the announcement of blessing of what Yahweh calls an abomination, especially on a statue of St. Peter, on the birthday of the supposed successor to St. Peter, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, known as Pope Francis, in his former home district. That's a lot of coincidences, but I guess it could happen. But I also guess that it shouldn't go unnoticed, because I haven't gotten to the interesting part yet. All this is just the prelude leading up to the interesting part, to the miraculous part. And as you look at the statues, a statue like St. Peter in Buenos Aires, there are some interesting features about this statue. First, look at the statue. Notice it has two very notable features. The first is the halo. The halo around the head, which represents what? Holiness. That's what the halo is supposed to represent. The second is in his right hand, which is, of course, the hand of power. He is holding the keys to the kingdom. That's right out of Scripture, Matthew 16:19. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So the statue has both the halo, representing holiness, and keys to the kingdom in the right hand. That's the power hand for binding and loosing on earth and in heaven. But this same Pope, this Pope that blessed homosexual marriage, this same Pope replaced the former head of the prefect for the dicastery of the doctrine of the faith with a cardinal by the name of Victor Manuel Fernandez, whose real claim to fame is a pornographic, blasphemous book that describes in great detail the events of the male and female orgasm and compares those experiences with intimacy with God. All this, by the way, filled with graphic pictures. He also suggests that God's grace can coexist with homosexual acts and homosexual marriage, and he blurs the line between males and females, and even provides transsexual and pedestry imagery in relationship to divine intimacy. Outrageous. Needless to say, this guy is at the center of the same-sex marriage or homosexual act blessing controversy known as Fiducia Supplicans Declaration, which opens up blessings for gay couples. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention a few of the chapter titles in his book. The Fire of Divine, A Well Sublime Passion, A Crazy Love Story, The Mystical Passion, Until the End, My Beautiful One Come, Male and Female Orgasm, The Path to Orgasm, God in the Couple's Orgasm. That sounds like a highly spiritual book to me, doesn't it to you? But then Yahweh spoke from heaven, and he sent forth lightning, which is by itself a remarkable event. A spokesman for the Lepanto Institute stated that the shrine has plenty of lightning rods, thus the strike on St. Peter's statue was highly improbable, and folks, I've got to tell you, nearly impossible. It wasn't the high point. There were lightning rods surrounding the statue and the entire cathedral, but struck it was. And when we come back, we'll show you the remarkable, even miraculous, even stunning things that happened, that were revealed after the statue was hit by lightning. A lightning strike, I believe, that came from heaven. You are not going to believe the images you're about to see. All that and a whole lot more right after this short time out.
So, you need a simple video to tell people about your business, educational institution, or nonprofit you run. But, you talked to one of those production houses, and they said it was going to cost way more than you ever imagined. Well, like many of you, we're independent business people and we understand what it takes to run a business or raise funds for a charitable organization, and we're here to help. Whether it's an effective email campaign, a video, short or long, or just a commercial for radio or television, we can help. Need a ghostwriter or help with a webinar? Yep, we can help with that too. Need copy for a website? Article for publication or adfomercial? We've got you covered. If you need it, we can help, and we'll keep your budget in mind as well. So visit our website at elitepowerpros.com. That's elitepowerpros.com, and relax, help is on the way.
Dr. Daniel Taylor is a specialist with 40 years of experience in examining bodies. In almost 90% of cases, he reports finding terrible parasitic infestation. These deadly parasites often live in the lungs, heart, liver, even the brain. Their colonies inhabit internal organs, and the larvae feed on the tissues of living people. That's why Sanus One created our one-of-a-kind wellness and BioCleanse formula that attacks disease and parasites that can cripple your immune system and destroy your vital organs. And their toxic waste can paralyze or impede your entire system. Our Sanus One formulas are designed for preemptive wellness and can bring dramatic results even for post-parasitic infestation. Protect your health and feel good again with Sanus One Wellness and True Health Formula. Visit us at sanus1.com. That's sanus1.com.
For years, I listened to the Baker Report. It was cutting edge, and his rants, priceless. Now he's back and just as outspoken, and even more penetrating on the confluence of history, headlines, and prophecy. Check right here every Friday for the latest release of the Baker Report. Here's what some of his viewers had to say.
Wow, I'd forgotten how much I missed the Baker Report. Just hearing that voice made me happy.
Classic Baker Report. Fabulous. Just fabulous.
Jake gets it. It's headlines, history. It's about the unfolding of prophecy. The perfect way to end the week and start the Sabbath. Love it.
Join Dr. Jake Baker every Friday afternoon for the Baker Report. And don't forget to hit the like button. Then subscribe and tell a few hundred of your closest friends that the Baker Report is back every Friday afternoon on Rumble.
And we are back with page 2 of the Baker Report. We've been talking about the Pope's blessing of gay marriage, which the Bible declares as an abomination. In fact, Yahweh assigned the death penalty to the act, so we know that he's very serious about it. We've seen that carried out in both history and in science. Sodom and Gomorrah were both destroyed in part for their sexual sin. Many diseases have claimed the lives of millions of people across the globe. One of them was AIDS. I believe punishment. Dr. Fauci's evil experimentation across Africa also killed millions. God has spoken on this issue. He says it's an abomination. But the Pope, who claims he is the vicar of Christ on earth, believes he can supplant the clear word of Yahweh by simply declaring that he will bless homosexual marriage and homosexual unions. So with that in mind, here is that same statue of St. Peter. This is what it looks like after the lightning strike on the Pope's birthday in his former home district, in his former home country. Notice that in the original picture, there's a halo in the picture that represents holiness. Now notice, in this picture, after the lightning strike, the halo is gone. Is that a sign that the holiness has left? It is Ichabod, it is gone, it is left. The Pope has removed the former head of his Doctrine division and replaced him with a pervert who writes pornographic books, which, by the way, the Vatican hid at the time of his appointment. That this was an intentional act, this was a done on purpose, is very clear. So the halo was blown off by the lightning strike. Was Yahweh speaking? Well, again, look at the coincidences. On his birthday, the day before he was to announce gay marriage blessing, in his home district, where he used to be Archbishop and Cardinal, and hit only the statue of St. Peter, which he is supposed to be the successor of. Now, let's move on to the rest of the picture. The halo is gone. Notice, too, that in his right hand, the power hand, that held the keys to the kingdom for binding and loosing. That's also gone. As are the keys that were in that hand. The left hand on the staff is still there, but the hand of power, which held the keys to the kingdom, is completely gone. It is a melted wreck now. There is nothing but a melted, mangled stump. What does that tell you? I don't believe this was an accident or a coincidence. Not when it hits the Pope's supposed spiritual progenitor, St. Peter, on the Pope's birthday in his home district, the day before he is to bless homosexual marriage, and nothing disappears in the statue except the symbol of holiness and the right hand holding the keys to the kingdom, while the rest of the statue remains intact. For those who would tell us that the days of Acts are over, the time when Yahweh speaks to his people, gives signs, wonders, miracles in special ways, I present to you Exhibit A, a random lightning strike which avoids the lightning rods all around the statue meant to protect it, the lightning rods around the building meant to protect everything there, and it hits the statue, removing only the halo standing for holiness and the right hand that held the keys to the kingdom. Yahweh is still speaking through events like this, but more importantly, through his Holy Spirit and through the Word, which is the Word for all of us today. Now, here's the point of all of this. This is a warning. But this is a warning not just to the Pope or the papacy. It's to both the church and to America. If you remove my law, my ordinances, my statutes, if you condone that which is evil, I will remove from you all that you thought you had. So here is the warning, America. Revelation 18. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice say from heaven, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. While in Egypt, the Lord had his people in the land of Goshen, where they were protected from the plagues that were falling on Egypt later on. For her sins, verse 5 says, have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she has rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she has said in her heart, I sit as a queen, I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord who judges her. And again we read in Jeremiah 50, the word of the Lord spake unto Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Declare ye among the nations, and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken. Beelzebub is confounded. Merodach is broken in pieces. Her idols are confounded. Her images are broken in pieces. For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none, repeat that, and none shall dwell therein, and they shall remove. They shall depart both man and beast. Continuing on out of verse 8, remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land, the terra firma, the dirt, get out of the country of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flocks. Now moving to Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 28, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes. That would be Iran, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land desolate without an inhabitant. The sea has come up upon Babylon. The sea, by the way, is the people. She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. And that becomes important, folks, in just a minute. Her cities are a desolation, a dry land, a wilderness, a land wherein no man dwelleth, neither doth any son of man pass thereby. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. And folks, here's how it happens. Verse 13. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. The Lord of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. So those who have come here by illegal methods, as strangers, will overthrow us. They will rebel against us. The nation shall be lit up, and they shall raise up a shout against us. And verse 52 of chapter 50 tells us, the wounded throughout the land shall groan. Why will they groan? Because the wounded stretch from sea to sea in the midst of a civil war within the country. All those illegals that the Biden administration has not just let in, but invited, will come up against us. And there are 10 million Islamists, Mohammedans in this country, and 2 million of those Mohammedans in this country are radicalized. And the traitor in the White House and his demonic handler, Obama, have imported as a private army this people that will destroy America, will rise up with power and destroy the land. And verse 44 says, I will punish Bel in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up. And the nation shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. My people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Lord. And now, verse 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds, their might hath failed. They have become as women. They have burned her dwelling places, her bars are broken. And that the passages are stopped, and the reeds they are burned with fire, and the men of war are affrighted. And now back in chapter 50, Yahweh tells us, behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord of hosts, for thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all around about him. That sounds like war and civil war. And it will come in a day, in an hour. And America will fall, and none shall raise her up. Verse 40, as God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, saith the Lord, so shall no man abide there. Neither shall any son of man dwell therein. Behold, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. So when it's done, the world will turn against us and devour us. Can we see that happening in today's world? Yes, we can see it's being done from within. Our CIA just fixed the election in Brazil to put a communist, Lula, in office to replace the former head of the country who was planning to leave BRICS, which is the device being used to destroy the American economy. At some point in time, I believe that the Lord will call his saints out of Babylon to flee and escape the land of Babylon. Now, there are those who say that we're to come out of Babylon spiritually. That's what it's all about. But throughout Jeremiah 50 and 51, Yahweh says, flee and escape the land of Babylon. Look at verse 28 of 51. The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon, to declare in Zion the vengeance of the Lord our God and the vengeance of his temple. Jeremiah 50, verse 8, remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flocks. But even if you don't want to leave, folks, there will come a time when the land will be emptied. It is a decree of the Most High. Jeremiah 50, verse 3, for out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast, But yet, there is a blessing in all of this. Yahweh never punishes people who move for him in faith. There is often a trial at the beginning, but there is also a throne at the end. But there is so much more. The blessings can be so big that we can hardly even fathom the size of that blessing. And we'll talk about how you and I can walk into that blessing, can be absorbed by that blessing, and have that blessing absorbed into us right after this short time out.
One of the most common comments we hear is, "I don't feel bad. I just don't feel good anymore." Unfortunately, that's a theme we hear from people in their 40s, 50s, and many seniors. But sadly, it's also coming from people in their 20s and 30s. With all the preservatives, chemicals, and parasites in our food, water, and air, the "I just don't feel good anymore" syndrome is hitting earlier than ever before. Fortunately, you don't have to accept that reality. At Sanus One, we've developed a one-of-a-kind, nano-infused, bio-sized formula that attacks disease, helps flush toxins and heavy metals from your system, and declares war on the ultimate immune system destroyer, parasites, that feed on your organs, and can destroy your heart, lungs, liver, even your brain. You really can feel good again with the Sanus One Wellness and Bio Cleanse Mega Pack. Visit us at sanus1.com. That's sanus1.com.
I don't know about you, but I'm constantly searching the internet, YouTube, and Rumble for something to watch that will give me news and events. But I really want more than that. I want to know what it all means. I want to know what's going on behind the scenes, and I'm looking for something that'll tell me how all of this relates to the times and the unfolding of Bible prophecy. I can find news, I can find preaching, but finding someone who can put it all together has been frustrating. But a few weeks ago, I stumbled across the Baker Report with Dr. Jake Baker. He has Glenn Beck passion, the insight of a Rusher Tucker, and a prophetic understanding like a Jonathan Cahn. Such a refreshing find. His program comes out every Friday afternoon, but the archives are available anytime at rumble.com. Then search for his channel, The Baker Report. That channel again is The Baker Report. It is amazing. You finally took the plunge and started that video blog, or podcast. And it looks great. So you go down the checklist. 1. You talk about lots of important stuff. 2. The set looks incredible. 3. You are already lining up amazing guests. 4. Wait, what's 4 again? Oh right, you need viewers. You know, people to actually watch the videos you're uploading. Those people that make it possible to monetize your podcast or video, or bring in customers. So, how do you get viewers? Well, you can hire some big ad agency, but to them, you are still just a small client. You can call every member of your family, and their families' families, or you can contact Elite Power Pros. We'll tailor a custom plan that meets your needs, finds your audience, and keeps your budget in mind during the whole process. Visit us today at elitepowerpros.com. That's elitepowerpros.com.
And we are back with page 3 of the Baker Report. Let's start with the story of Joseph. Joseph, as you recall, was sold into slavery. But even as he was sold into slavery and propositioned by Potiphar's wife, he obeyed Yahweh and his commandments and went to prison for it. So, sold into slavery, now imprisoned. But when it was done, he held the second highest office in all of Egypt, second only to the Pharaoh. But that was only the beginning of the blessing, and was never ever the real blessing. The real blessing came with the blessing of Jacob, which came from Yahweh. The real blessing came when his sons Manasseh and Ephraim were blessed. Manasseh was blessed and promised he would be the father of a great nation, a great people. But when Ephraim was blessed, and Ephraim, by the way, was the younger of the two, not the elder, but when he was blessed, he was told that he would be the progenitor of many nations. And in fact, Yahweh said that he would be the firstborn of Israel. That is, the tribe of Ephraim would be over Judah and everybody else. that he would be Israel and Israel would be him, and that through him all of the Gentile nations would be blessed. So he was not just of the 10 tribes, one of the 10 tribes. He was Israel. And he would eventually be the second half of the twin twigs in Ezekiel, joined together to bring again house of Judah and the house of Israel back together, and that Judah and Israel would be one again. One people, Israel. And Ephraim would be Israel. Ephraim was described as Yahweh's beloved. That was the blessing for Joseph's obedience. He would be the father of both Israel of the Old Testament and Israel of Yahweh in the New Testament and the New Covenant. It was an everlasting covenant or blessing that is still in effect today. In fact, in this time, this is the age of Manasseh that has come to an end now. We are seeing that period ended, and now this is the dawning of the age of Ephraim. And it isn't a strange thing at all that even now in Israel, they are doing all they can to get rid of Messianic Christians, when in reality Ephraim, that is, the people of the New Covenant, are primarily Ephraim, one of the tribes of Israel that did not come under the curse of Babylon, and Ephraim is in fact, by decree, the father of Israel. Yet it is Ephraim that is being thrown out of Israel. But in the end, it will be Ephraim that leads Judah back out of the curse of Babylon and Judaism, and Babylonian Judaism, by the way, and this whole Pharisaical Judaism, and back to the God of Israel's Father, Yahweh, through the Son, Yeshua the Messiah. Likewise, there is a blessing waiting for those people of faith who, like the sons of Issachar, understand the times and desire to be a part of the remnant of the Israel of God. At some time, perhaps even in the not-too-distant future, folks, we will be called to make a huge step of faith. And the elect, the remnant, will move forward in faith, leaving Egypt and heading for a new land. Because this new land, this land that we're in now, will be destroyed. It will be desolate, uninhabited, and uninhabitable. How do we know that? Because we just read it from the scripture in both Jeremiah and Revelation. But imagine the blessing that awaits the people of Yahweh as they move in faith. As Yahweh calls them to a new land, and they move in faith. And in the end, it says, during the entire millennial period, they will sing a new song that tells of the tales of how Yahweh saved his people during the time of the tribulation. What a glorious adventure this will be. This will be a time when there is nothing else we can depend on except the grace of a loving God. And in that time of praise and glorifying him, the saints will come alive as never before. And all of those who walk in faith will no longer follow signs and wonders or go seeking a word. Signs and wonders will follow them. And the word of God will follow them. They will no longer seek a word. They will walk in the presence of the Spirit, and the word will come to them like water flowing from the holy river before the throne. Imagine what it will be like when the remnant walks in the power of God. And we aren't following miracles, but miracles are following us. This is the great and terrible day of the Lord. Great for us, whether we see these days from here or from heaven, and terrible for the wicked, who will pray for death but not find death. It will elude them, and all they can do is find judgment, pain, grief, and unimaginable sorrow. But saints, whether we live or whether we die, we are with the Lord. This adventure is unfolding in front of us. It will cause every other age of humanity to pale in comparison as the history, headlines, and prophecy crescendo into this one moment in time and space. We, saints, are the chosen of Yahweh to see this time, this most miraculous, this most exciting time in all of history. Do not see this as a time of tribulation as the world sees it. but as the final battle between evil and light. We will be on the winning side. We will look like we're going to be crushed by the reality of all of this, but the victory that we receive will be the victory in Yeshua as he returns, no longer as the suffering lamb, but as the King of kings and Lord of lords, whose kingdom shall have no end. That, my friends, is what awaits the people of Yahweh in these last days. We are blessed among all generations. From Adam to this very moment, we are the chosen for this moment in history, for this time in eternity. For the Baker Report, I'm Jake Baker. Until next time, good day, take care, Lord bless.